budget for the opposition to deal with. So, Treasury Management. This is our 6-monthly update. I mean, we had it at the last meeting. I wasn't going to say very much, but I guess during the budget process, and Adam's referred to the very difficult financial pressures that we face, just made more expensive. The cost of capital, the cost of capital of the council keeps coming back to me as a problem we might want to discuss. So, the general fund, the borrowing against the general fund of this council is around £528 million, predicted at 528 by the end of the year. And I was just looking into actually how much highways was costing us each year, for obvious reasons, I'm a cabinet member for highways. And I asked the officers of the council, can you tell me roughly how much money the council has borrowed for highways-related projects since the day this council was created, the inception of this council? So out of that £528 million of borrowing we've got on our books, 218 million relates to highways alone. That's 41% of our total borrowing is highways. Now, a lot of this is good stuff, right? It's contributions towards the Woodside Link Road, Arlesey Link Road, Clop Hill Roundabout, all sorts of things. But it's a big sum of money. And highways borrowing is actually expensive. You need to repay it over 25 years, not 40 years. Now, next year, the predicted cost of borrowing is going to increase to £35 million. It's almost doubled in just a few years. And as interest rates stay high, as I talked about last time, as we all know, that cost is eating into our revenue budget every single year and making it harder for us as a council to provide the services we want to provide. And of course, we can only provide those services with income from council tax, from fees and charges, just slightly lower now than it was. But it's going to be a big challenge. And I want to make you aware just how much we had spent on highways. I'm not criticising everything that's been done in the world of highways, but it was a much bigger figure. I was going to say that again, £218 million of 528 million is highways-related stuff. It's an astonishing figure. We're going to have to look very carefully at our capital budget going forward, because 35 million in 1 year on capital interest and capital repayments and interest alone is an astonishing figure for the next financial year.
Highways. Highways is one of probably the only service which virtually all our taxpayers actually use and actually want improvements to. So, if we're not doing highways, why are we raising all the other taxes to give things which should only apportion to certain different class of residents? This is one of the biggest spends. It is important that we improve our road networks, because if we don't, our villages and towns will just drown in traffic. There is no other solution at this moment in time to make people move around. If you look at our interest rates, the biggest part of our interest rate was fixed at a very low rate for 21 years. It is the current issues what we've got where we are now looking at trying to repay. We did have a reserve of £118 million at the start of this current council. That has disappeared. So let's get things into priorities. The priorities is that our residents want good road networks. We do have to spend money on that. That is not something which we can just say we don't have to do.
And his conversion to financial rectitude in terms of budget planning. It's a pity that it's come a bit late, because we have Councillor Wenham and his group voting for £35 million worth of Leighton Buzzard Leisure Centre that isn't needed, along with the Liberal Democrats and some people behind me. We have the Councillor Wenham and his colleagues voted £28 million for a health hub in Dunstable that Dunstable did not need. And we have Councillor Wenham and his administration voting for no council tax increase in 2022-3. One of the reasons why our revenue budget base has got the problems enduring from that time that it has. So it's welcome news, Mr. Chairman, but it's a bit late.
I have been named Chair. I wish to have the right of response. Thank you.
Please proceed, Councillor Wenham.
So it seems that the member sat opposite me has a completely different view of things, in fact inventing facts rather than helping the council to understand things. Where we borrowed money, we did it at very, very attractive rates. £50 million over 30 years at 1.3% interest. You know, where the administration opposite able to be more competent in treasury management, then they might not be in this position. As to the leisure centre, that was put forward and supported by Councillor Baker, and he could have stopped that leisure centre being invested in Leighton Buzzard, but of course he had to support that because he needed the Liberal Democrats to support his first budget. So, as usual, the councillor sat opposite me making those comments has no real idea of the facts, just chooses to invent things to suit his own agenda.
And his
I was a bit disappointed that Councillor Owen remarked about the health hub, which he says we didn't need, and doesn't seem to understand that that's on a long-term contract to the hospital's trust, which will more than cover any costs that were associated with the health hub. So he ought to really get his facts right before he starts saying, giving us the wrong information in council, Chair.
That's noted.